Hello and welcome to Boosting You, your ultimate wellness platform. I'm Dr. Sue Peacock.
And I'm Shirley McLean. And today we're just going to continue our little boost for you of wellness. So, following on from our last little topics of those foundations and those pillars of self care, what we're going to do is we're just going to do a little bit of an overview today on emotional self care for our wellness. So, because this is really super important, that physical. Wellness as well as we've covered, which gets a lot of attention. Emotional self care is equally vital for overall well-being. So, what aspects should we cover, Sue?
Well, I think we should start with the foundations, really, helping people understand what emotional self-care actually is. It's not just bubble baths and scented candles, but, we do like those as well.
Oh, we do, absolutely. I love a candle, May. I love a scenting candle. So, emotional self-care, it is about nurturing your inner world, your thoughts and feelings and how you speak to yourself as well. It's about creating that space to process emotions in healthy ways as well, rather than suppressing things as well or ignoring them. What we resist persists. I absolutely love that all the time. What we resist persists.
That's a great way to put it, isn't it? Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah, I'd say it's about sort of setting boundaries, isn't it? Practicing self-compassion and being mindful of our emotional needs.
Absolutely. And I think we should really, really emphasize that emotional self-care because it isn't selfish, as we've mentioned before. It's necessary, absolutely necessary. When we're emotionally drained, we can't show up fully for ourselves or for anybody else, for others as well.
Yeah, that's really true, isn't it? Emotional self-care is needed kind of all the time, not just when we're struggling emotionally. It is a preventative kind of thing, not just a reactive activity.
Yeah. So before, we have those emotions of numbness and overwhelm by, small challenges, irritability, or however it shows up because we're all different, because it does show up in so many ways, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It may be things like difficulty concentrating or changes in our sleep patterns. Sometimes it's about we feel disconnected from things that normally make us feel happy.
Yeah, and it's being aware of sometimes like practical strategies, I suppose, that we can even use straight away, without making it feel too overwhelming.
Yeah, totally agree with you. And we've mentioned earlier, haven't we, about rituals and tiny changes. And if we started the day perhaps with those little micro practices that take less than 5 minutes, and then we can build to sort of more substantive practices.
Yeah, so like simple mindful moments really as well, isn't it?
Yeah,
Noticing maybe even your breathing for 30 seconds, that those little emotional check-ins during the day and just naming that feeling even without judgment and gratitude like we did a few sessions ago as well. That's really helpful. And identifying maybe just a couple of things that you're grateful for. I'd said three, but I did a little practice with just one in as well, or and anything, just even stretching, having a shake off, things like that, changing our state. That's always good as well. Just literally, just moving, just change that state.
yeah, I think all of those things are really good, and I particularly like the fact that they're evidence based.
We know.
I'm also going to add to those and suggest things like journaling to process our emotions, setting and maintaining those healthy boundaries, practice self-compassion. Speaking to ourselves nicely. Becoming our own critical best friend, because we're always so much nicer to our best friends than we are to ourselves sometimes.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's quite nice to schedule regular connections with people that you find supportive and inspiring and give you some energy.
Yeah, and it could be, intentionally, alone time, maybe even for introverts, because that's a really important, point as well. And like mindful social connection, for extroverts. So it's different, horses for courses, I suppose. Is that the expression? It's about honouring your personal needs for energy, for vitality, for that restoration as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes I get my clients to sort of create an emotional toolkit so they can kind of identify in advance what happens when they're feeling low in mood or overwhelmed or sad or anxious.
Yeah, and I love that idea, and I think it's a huge tip as well. We might have mentioned this before, but for that consistency, because a lot of people start off really, really strong. We're there, we've got that intention, we're doing it, but then it just we fall off the wagon, don't we? And we haven't got that consistency as well.
Yeah, I agree with you. Consistency is key to so many different things, isn't it? Which ties in really quite beautifully, doesn't it, with one of our earlier boosts that we talked about, of just starting with one 5-minute practice daily and then linking those new practices to, say, existing habits, setting those realistic goals, remembering, as we say quite often, it's about progress, not perfection, and creating those environmental triggers, like post-it notes or finding and having an accountability partner like I've got you, which is great.
Yay! I know you did. And I was very honoured that you did. So that was when we were in one of our meetings, wasn't it, that we did that as well. Um, and I think, we need to I think we should really, really emphasize as well that emotional self-care, and it looks differently for everybody as well. So it's all about discovering what genuinely replenishes your own reservoirs, your own reserves that you've got there, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's not a one size fits all here, is it? It may depend on as and be different due to different sort of life circumstances or changes in our lives. Our life isn't a static thing, is it? Lots of changes happen, and we need to adapt our self-care to
Mm.
the stage where we are.
Yeah, definitely, because what nurtures you during a calm period might be different from what you need during, say, a crisis.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing I'd like to say is really sort of add that importance of giving yourself permission to feel all of those emotions. Because I think, many people believe emotional self-care is about trying to be positive all the time. And, that's kind of impossible, really.
Yeah, that is a absolutely great point. So, because all emotions, I always think are like little gifts, and sometimes they don't feel like the little gifts, but they certainly are. There's opportunities, there's learnings, and it's a kind of like, how do you want to feel instead? And as human beings, the way we're hardwired, we should experience them all, So having the tools to allow us to do that, which we will be covering at a later date, it's important that we do create that space
Mm.
for all of those different emotions. It's about, processing that feelings, whatever we're having, but doing it in a healthier way, not suppressing them. What we resist persists. So, and an emotion, it takes 90 seconds to work its way through the body if we know how. Did you
Yeah,
know?
I know. That's always incredible. I always think that's absolutely incredible, isn't it, really? So, sometimes, the most caring thing that you can do right now is just simply acknowledge that, this is really hard right now, rather than, try and be positive about everything.
Yeah, it's powerful. It's really, really powerful that. And this is one of the reasons that we've started doing this. So eventually, continuing with all of these booths that will have the tools and the techniques for self-care that will be accessible to a lot more people that we want to help as well. Because self-care shouldn't feel like another pressure. That's certainly not what we want to achieve here.
Oh, absolutely. We don't want self-care to be, just one more thing on your to-do list, do we? It should be, what we'd like to think it as an act of kindness towards
Yeah.
yourself, isn't it? So, let's close today's boost with that simple challenge to you to perhaps, find one tiny practice for you to try today, obviously with no pressure.
Yeah, no pressure. Perfect ending. So small steps lead to that meaningful change, as we keep reiterating, because it's sinking in, it's sinking in. And when when it does come to that emotional well-being.
Yeah, so I think, to round up, sort of start where you are, use what you have, do what you can. And that's the essence of sustainable emotional self-care. So it's bye from me.
And it's bye from me.